Iannielli, and I am a male to female transgender girl, and I'm working on this video about my ever-evolving transition from male to female. And there's a question that seems to come up quite a bit from family relatives and friends on what it is that motivated me to go forward in my transition. And it's a fairly simple question, and it's very easy for me to answer. I could actually do this video in 30 seconds, but I'm going to elaborate because I think it's very important. Now, the question is very simplistic, but I believe it's very relevant and very important from the perspective of a male to female transgender woman or girl. And the question is, you are born, in our case, male to female, transgender. They're asking the question towards me, so I'm going to pose it that way. You're born male, so why do you have this desire or urge to become a female or a girl? If you're born a boy, what would make you want to become a girl? And you know, I've asked this question to myself many times growing up, wondering and crying and not knowing the answer. I always asked, why do I feel that I'm a girl when I'm born a boy? I can't change the way I was born, and I can't change the way I feel. And it's a struggle, and it's an ongoing struggle, and it's always been there, that struggle. No matter what I did, it would always be there. I tried to suppress those feelings. I tried to hide them. I tried to do the things that I thought was appropriate for my birth sex, which was a male. You know, I emphasized the male characteristics, the traits, the desires, the wants, the hopes, the challenges, and I tried to accept them all on my terms, but in the way that a male is supposed to. And I didn't arouse any suspicions with family or friends about my gender. No one questioned it. They just assumed that I was a male, which I was born male. So they took it at face value and always addressed me as a male or a boy, and I couldn't do anything about it. I had to comply no matter how I felt. And one thing I learned when I was growing, and I had come to accept myself as a male to female transgender woman, but it took me a long time. However, with that said, I knew at a young age that I was transsexual. And I realized that when I would go into the library and I would find my way to the section on gender identity. And I read books on some of the well-known transgender, transsexual people. And I came across the name of Renee Richards, a doctor and a former tennis player. And when I read her story and saw her pictures, I identified completely, and I knew right then and there, at the tender age of 12 or 13, that I was transsexual. I didn't hear the term transgender coined at that time, we're talking about the year 1973. So I was only 12 at the time. And I was living on Long Island with my family. We had just moved from Brooklyn. So I went to the public library and I spent hours reading about transsexuals and what was innate in their uh, their their life that made them feel the need to transition. And over the years, I was drawn to accepting myself as a girl, and the main reason was that I idolized girls. I thought they were the most sensual, most beautiful, and just delight. They were extremely feminine, so pretty. They wore beautiful dresses, and they were very expressive of their emotions, and they just made you feel so warm inside, and I just couldn't get enough of that. And I wanted to immerse myself in that. I wanted to be like that. I felt in my heart that I should have been like that. I wanted to immerse myself in femininity. I wanted to be just like one of the girls. And I wanted to be as extremely as feminine as I possibly could be. And I wanted to prove to the girls that I was just like one of them. And I just don't understand why people ask me, you're a boy or a guy, why do you want to be a girl? Heck, I'm not saying girls have it easy, they certainly don't. I mean, they have to have their monthly cycle, and giving birth is not an easy thing, and if there's a joke that you always hear, if guys were the ones to become pregnant, we wouldn't have a civilization. But the reality is that I wanted so much to feel and be like one of them that I would love to be able to share in those experiences as well. And the girls joke with me and say, no, hon, you don't want to go through that. You know, and I understand, but, you know, in my heart, I feel just like a girl, and I've always have. And that's part of being, that's part of having gender identity disorder. And having gender dysphoria is that your body doesn't match with the way you feel about yourself. I felt like a girl since I was 3 years old. But my body was a male body, so it betrayed how I felt. I had a girl's mind and a boy's body, and I couldn't reconcile the two. And I was very depressed and very sad, and I cried every day just about. Going to bed at night was like the hardest thing for me, and whenever I could get my hands on a dress, I would gladly put it on, and I just felt much happier. And it's not that hard a question to answer, because I always identified as a girl, and I enjoy everything that's a girl goes through. And, you know, the hardest part about being a girl is that they have to draw the line, and they have to be strong, because, let's face it, guys are hard to deal with. I know, because I had lived as a guy, and I am not like those typical guys, but guys can be overwhelming and smothering and entrap you. Women have to take a firm approach in their relationships with guys. I mean, there are nice guys out there that treat you with respect and are very mindful of your feelings and don't overstep their boundaries. But there are a lot of guys that are very possessive and very difficult to deal with. And I even noticed it on Facebook as I'm transitioning myself. That guys sometimes just don't take the hint. And, you know, I don't know what it is that makes guys attracted to transgender girls. I mean, especially pre-op, I don't get it. You know, I'm just here to transition and to live and to share my story. And that's basically all I ever wanted to do. I wanted to live my life as a transgender woman, and I wanted to be happy and go through life the way I felt more comfortable. And being a girl, to me, is everything that I always felt in my heart. And, you know, I don't, you know, I also kind of look at the ultra feminine side of being a girl, because I am very feminine, and a lot of girls aren't. You know, I think they're like a little rebellious in that way. You know, they don't always want to wear a dress, which is quite understandable, and they don't want to be pigeonholed into a subservient type role. They want to be independent, and they should be. And women have evolved and are very strong, and they have a lot of influence and wonderful, wonderful leadership skills. And I admire women, I envy women, and I always wanted to be a woman, and I am a woman, and I am a girl, and I always was, and I always will be. And transitioning for me is a godsend. I don't know, if I wasn't transitioning, I don't think I would be alive today. So, you know, I've had my share of struggles and my difficulties and my hospitalizations, and I've battled with depression and suicide ideation, and I have bipolar disorder, and I lost my job, and I have financial worries, and I'm raising a son who's autistic, and I'm married, and I'm trying to juggle transition with trying to deal with my unemployment situation, and I'm luckily collecting on disability. So I don't know where I would be if I wasn't on disability. So, you know, I look at this time now that I'm not working as a time for me to get in touch with my feelings, to be able to transition peacefully and not in the eye of the public. And I'm actually living full-time as a woman, 24/7. I dress like a woman every day, and I go out when I am going out. You know, usually I go out just either to the mall or to my doctor's appointments, or with a friend or two, or a trip to the movie, or my son when he comes home from school. And, you know, I just enjoy being Emily and feeling feminine and doing all the things that I always wanted to when I was trying desperately to live as a girl. And when people ask me, why would you want to be a girl, I just tell them, look, that's who I am. I identify as a girl. I always have. And I always wanted to be like that. They have a lot of great qualities. And, you know, who doesn't want to be beautiful? Who doesn't want to be pretty? Who doesn't want to be intelligent? You know, girls have everything. They are intelligent, they're beautiful, they're leaders, they're mothers, they're wives, they're everything, you know, and they have to do everything. They have to juggle. You know, it's very hard to be a woman today. But I am very, I hold them in high esteem. I respect them. I admire them. They're my role models. And I look at my mom. She was my source of strength, just like my dad was. Both my parents. And I just feel like, to me, when I came out and I started transitioning, I knew it was the right thing for me. I was scared. To believe me, I was. And I didn't know if it was going to work. I didn't know how the hormones were going to affect my body. I didn't know if the electrolysis was going to be uh, enough to clear this hair on my face. And things started to fall into place. And initially I was not so happy with the early stages of my transition. I felt like things weren't happening quick enough. And then after 2 years, it was like a whammo, where all of a sudden I looked at myself and I said, holy mackerel, I never felt that I could ever look like a girl. And now when I look in the mirror, it's like what I see staring back at me is a female. And I even ask friends, I say, if you were to look at me now the way I look, and you just saw me for the first time on the street, what would you think I am, a girl or a boy? And 100% of the response is girl. And I'm just thrilled that I've gotten to that point in my life. And when I'm out in public and I'm like at a Target or a Stop and Shop or a Walmart or wherever, on the counter line when I'm checking out, I'm talking a little bit. Even though I have a male voice, I try to speak in a lower tone. And they address me as miss or ma'am, but always in the female pronoun. So, that makes me feel great. And, that's all part of the confidence that you build and self-esteem as you're transitioning. And you need things like that, And, I look at my transition as something that is helping me to understand and accept myself. It's allowing me to share something with my son and my family and teach them to be understanding and accepting. And it's about self-fulfillment, happiness. I want to be happy. I want to live the way I always felt I should have. I love the fact that I'm a dad and that I married and that my wife gave birth. And I'm very happy about all that. And I have no regrets whatsoever. But I always had this issue that always stayed with me. And I couldn't rid myself of it, no matter how hard I tried. I tried to deny it. I tried to suppress it. I tried to repress it. And it just kept coming back. And what I'm talking about is my gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is where you are completely at odds with your birth sex and how you perceive yourself. So you are in a situation where you hate your body. You absolutely hate it. And you will do anything to rid yourself of that physical body. And there are stories that you hear that are scary, but transgender people are desperate, and they'll do almost anything. I am not at that point, but I want to have surgery. I want to have the gender reassignment surgery, or the sex reassignment surgery, or the sex change operation, however you want to call it. But, it doesn't just happen. You have to work towards that. And you have to be under doctor care, and you have to go through mental screening, and you have to be considered competent and psychologically fit. And I'm not yet psychologically fit to have surgery. And I would only be on a waiting list. So it's very disappointing because the waiting list is almost 2 years out for Dr. Marcialis. And I'm in a catch-22 situation. So I'm very upset about it, but I'm trying to cope as best I can. And I draw inspiration from a lot of the trans girls on YouTube and on Facebook. And I just actually friended a girl, I believe she lives in Indiana, and she's only a teenage girl. and I'm not going to mention her name for privacy issues, but she is a champion for transgender rights for not only youth but for adults. And she actually spoke in front of the legislature in her home state to ask for changes in their policies towards transgender individuals. And I thought, wow, this girl is something else. She's beautiful, she's intelligent, she's got courage, and she's very, very wise for her years. She's only a teenager, and she is amazing and a wonderful role model. And it was touching because she was in the the courthouse or wherever with her dad by her side, and he was fully supportive. And stories like that are very warming, and it make me feel happy. It's not always that way. You're gonna have those sad stories like Lila Alcorn, but this is what makes it all worth it. Is stories like this young teenage girl who's blossoming, and she's been transitioning since she was young. So I'm very happy for her, and I think that her courage will help others. And I'm older, so I'm trying to go forward with my transition in a way where I stay focused and I stay positive, and I had to build a base of network through family and friends for support, and I feel that people, for the most part, understand me and are very tolerant and accepting. Obviously not everyone I know, but a good amount of people, and that makes me happy and makes me realize, that I'm doing the right thing, and I feel very good about it. And I still have a wonderful relationship with my son, which is the topmost priority in my life. And wanting to see him succeed and find his own happiness and his own way in the world, and also let him know that we're always there for him no matter what. We will always be there. And I think it's very important that we achieve our dreams in life, that we always look to God in our life, that we are always thankful to others, that we cherish our family and our friends, and that we feel comfortable with ourselves. And I believe that if you decide that you're not happy with your birth sex, and you always felt this way since you were a child, and you believe transitioning is the best thing for you, and you've done your homework, and you've gone for your therapy, and you're going to doctors, then I am 100% behind you in your decision to transition if that's the path you decide. But we all have to decide on our own terms. And, it may not be easy at first, but I believe that for most, it's probably going to be the salvation in our lives, and we're going to believe in our hearts that it's probably the best decision we ever made, for the most part. But you have to test the waters, you have to experiment, you have to experience. And you can't be nonchalant about it, and you can't be irresponsible about it. You really have to be very aware of the ramifications. There are some irreversible things that occur once you start on hormone replacement therapy and you're on it for a while. For instance, male to female on HRT will experience breast development So if they all of a sudden say, oh no, and they want to stop it, their current breast development is going to be there for the rest of their life unless they have surgery to remove it. And generally, for male to female transgender, the breast development isn't significant. That's why a lot of male to female transgender girls or women have breast augmentation surgery because they want to look more feminine and have breasts that are more in line with a woman's breasts. In my case, I don't feel it's necessary because I'm petite and I'm perfectly fine with my 34A cup. So for me, it really doesn't make a difference. Certainly, I wouldn't complain if I had a 34B, but these are the cards dealt to me, so I have to deal with it the best I can, and I'm accepting of that. I'm just happy that I have some breast development, and I'm not gonna take it for granted. I'm not a young kid. I'm in my early 50s, so I need to just accept what I have and work with that. And the main thing for me is that I'm on my path to transitioning, and I'm eventually hoping that I'll crown it off with my gender reassignment surgery, and hopefully Dr. Marcy Dallas will be the doctor. She's amazing. But, I can't pin everything on that. I just have to take one day at a time. And the best thing I do with my time is I do videos to try to speak out and teach others what I'm going through and share my experiences. And I hope that people benefit. And I'm going to continue to do videos and try not to be repetitive. And I'm going to try to do a new format of videos. And I'm trying to see if I can try to do some activity type videos or dancing type videos. I have a lot of ideas. I just got to put it into use. And the real thing I wish I could do is to make a living by doing my videos and pics in a proper way, in a professional way. But I haven't really figured the how, so I'm very amateurish. But I enjoy doing videos still, nonetheless, and I always enjoy my writing and sharing. I believe as a male to female transgender woman who only came out 2.5 years ago at the age of 51, that I certainly have a lot to talk about and share. And I believe that there are some people out there who hopefully will come across my video channel and see a video or two of mine and feel touched by it or feel inspired by it. I do these videos for two reasons. One is for my own self-help, because I only see my therapist on a weekly basis, once a week, and it's only for 45 minutes. And that's not near enough time for me. So I like to think out my thoughts, and the best way for me is to present it in a video and share it on YouTube. And all my videos are very diplomatic. I speak with my best mannerisms.